Life has a strange way of testing us when we least expect it. Sometimes, the most powerful lessons come not from grand achievements or loud victories, but from the quiet, hidden moments where no one is watching. This is a story about one such moment. A story about a man who gave away what little he had, only to receive something that money could never buy. It was the middle of a freezing winter in Chicago. The streets were blanketed in snow, and the wind carried a sharp bite that made people pull their coats tighter and walk faster just to escape the cold. For most, it was just another winter's day, a season to endure before spring arrived. But for Daniel, every single day was a battle. Daniel was 37 years old, not too young, not too old. He had once been a man with a stable job, a family, and dreams he believed were within reach. But life hadn't gone the way he planned. A series of wrong turns, bad decisions, and an economy that didn't care about his struggles had left him jobless, homeless, and forgotten by almost everyone who once knew him. He slept in shelters when he could, and on nights when the shelters were too full, he wrapped himself in thin blankets on park benches. Hunger was a constant companion, one that gnawed at him relentlessly, and the cold only made it worse. On one particularly brutal morning, Daniel found himself shivering in front of a small bakery. The smell of fresh bread wafted through the air, warm and inviting, a cruel reminder of what he didn't have. He had been saving the last few coins in his pocket for 3 days, just enough to buy one loaf of bread. It wasn't much, but to him it meant survival. With trembling hands, he pushed open the bakery door, the little bell above ringing as he stepped inside. The baker, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes but a hurried demeanor, handed him a small loaf. Daniel clutched it tightly, feeling its warmth seep into his frozen fingers. It was the first real food he had held in days. For the first time in a long while, he felt a flicker of relief. He stepped back outside into the biting cold, ready to find a quiet corner where he could eat slowly, savoring every piece. But then, something stopped him. Just a few steps away, sitting on the curb, was a young boy, no older than 10. His clothes were thin, his shoes were worn, and his small hands were tucked inside his sleeves to fight the cold. His eyes, wide and hollow, were fixed on Daniel's bread. The boy didn't say a word. He didn't have to. Hunger spoke louder than anything his lips could have formed. Daniel froze. His body was screaming for him to eat. He hadn't eaten a proper meal in days, and his stomach was twisting in knots. He had fought for this bread, saved for it, waited for it. And yet, how could he take a bite while a starving child sat in front of him? This was his turning point. For a long moment, Daniel stood in silence, torn between his own survival and the pain reflected in the boy's eyes. He could have walked away. No one would blame him. After all, he had nothing. But deep down, Daniel knew he was facing a choice that would define him, not just for that day, but for the rest of his life. Slowly, with trembling hands, he knelt in front of the boy. He broke the loaf in half. The boy's eyes lit up, almost in disbelief. Daniel handed him the larger piece and kept the smaller one for himself. The boy grabbed it gently, as though afraid it would vanish, and whispered a quiet, "Thank you." Daniel watched him eat. Every bite the boy took felt like a weight lifting from Daniel's heart. For the first time in years, he felt something other than despair. He felt purpose. He felt human. But that wasn't the end of the story. The bakery door opened again. The woman who owned it had been watching from inside. She had seen Daniel walk out with the bread. She had seen him hesitate. And she had seen the moment he chose to give away more than he kept for himself. She approached slowly, holding another bag in her hand. "Excuse me," she said softly. Daniel turned, unsure of what she wanted. She handed him the bag. Inside were 2 more loaves of bread, still warm, along with a small container of soup. "I saw what you did," she continued. "Most people would have walked away. You gave your last bread to someone who needed it just as badly as you. I don't know your story, but I know kindness when I see it." Daniel's eyes filled with tears. He couldn't remember the last time someone had shown him such compassion. He tried to speak, but the words caught in his throat. All he could do was nod in gratitude. From that day forward, Daniel wasn't invisible anymore. The baker started offering him small tasks around the shop, sweeping the floor, washing dishes, helping carry flour bags. In exchange, she paid him in food and eventually in money. Slowly, piece by piece, Daniel rebuilt his life. It wasn't easy and it didn't happen overnight, but that single choice, to give his last bread, set off a chain of events that gave him something he thought he had lost forever: hope. Years later, Daniel would look back on that cold winter day as the moment everything changed. He didn't receive riches. He didn't win a lottery. What he received was far greater: dignity, purpose, and the reminder that even in the darkest moments, kindness has the power to open doors that nothing else can. And the boy? The boy never forgot either. That small act of compassion lived in his heart as a reminder that goodness exists, even in the unlikeliest of places. So what's the lesson here? Sometimes life corners us into thinking we have nothing left to give. We believe our hands are empty, our pockets are bare, and our strength is gone. But even then, especially then, we still have a choice. We can choose selfishness, or we can choose kindness. And when we choose kindness, something incredible happens. The universe gives back in ways we could never imagine. Daniel gave away his last bread. He had every reason not to, but in doing so, he received something that no amount of money could ever buy: a chance at redemption, and a reminder that no matter how broken life seems, compassion can mend the cracks. So the next time you feel like you have nothing left to offer, remember this: a small act of kindness, even when it costs you everything, can be the very thing that saves you.